I want to ask you a question. At some point today, have you said to yourself or out loud, you should, talking to someone else, or it should be, or I wish the USBG would? Have you said that today?
Yes.
I think everybody in this room has said that today. So my question is, who should do it? What you said, who is that you? Who is that it? Who's the person, that one person at the USBG, responsible to get done what you said should be done? Do we know who that is? Can we identify? David Nepop has to do everything that everybody in this room wants him to do. That's his job. All right, that's the national president. So that's why we have so many volunteers for national president, right? Because they are personally responsible for everything that everybody in this room wants done yesterday, okay? So that's not how it works. We know that. It's not how it works in business. It's not how it works in government. It's not how it works in anything. Who does it? The members do it. The organization creates structure so that members can get things done that they would like to have done. We have to form consensus. We have to have conversations. We have to do all kinds of things to get any of these initiatives to move forward, right? And the way most places do it is they form committees, right? So that's what we're going to talk about here. So to form a committee, if you have an idea, you have something that you think would be amazing, revolutionary for the organization, what's the first thing that you need to do? First thing you need to do is clearly say what it is that you want to do. Like I've heard it often say, we need more education. Okay, we need more education. I agree, that sounds like a very good idea. But what is your intention? How do you have other people inspired? I think we already have people inspired to create more education. But what's the process? How do we deliver that? Who's going to come up with that process? It has, you have to step forward. When you have this initiative, when you have this idea, you need to recruit other people and inspire their commitment to that same idea, and then together you need to come up with the process. Once you've developed that process, you form consensus around it, you get rallied support, and then you make a recommendation to the people who could actually implement it. So what we cannot do is sit in a room and say, hey, we have 1,000,001 good ideas and somebody else is going to make them happen, right? That gets us where we are now, right? So this is basically it. I want you guys to know we are putting in we're putting infrastructure in place to support this. Hopefully at the staff level, we'll have somebody that can help move member initiatives forward. So a little document that we put together, it's built almost exactly off of the document from the petition to add an agenda item to a committee, or add an item to an agenda. So we have a petition to form a committee. So that means if you have a brilliant idea,
Aaron, I just want to make sure we're going to get this.
It's going to be available with everything. You're going to get all of these files at the end of the conference, and it will be available on request as well.
Aaron,
yes?
can I add one more bullet point to that previous one? Deadlines?
Deadlines. That's part of process, but deadlines is an important part of process. Absolutely.
Ensuring it actually happens.
And following through. It's a very tough part of it. Absolutely. So a petition to form a committee is something that we will provide everyone. This document, every committee by Nevada state law says that a committee of a corporation requires a board member to be on the committee. So you will have to recruit somebody off. Your idea better be so good that somebody on the board will sit on the committee, or at least stay involved. But we do have to have a board sponsor on each committee. You have to have one member from each region. That way, this is something, if we're talking about a national committee, we need representation from all over. We need input from all over the country, not just one place. So this is an opportunity for you guys to be making those relationships, to have those conversations. I'll make a stack of these and have them outside later today, and I'll take 10 applications tomorrow if you guys want to do it. The next line is going to be to state the 3 primary objectives of this committee. Will you need associate members? Are you just going to be the 6, the board, and the 5 regional representatives? Or are you going to recruit extra people? Is the membership committee going to be 100 people strong? What does that look like on a national level? You tell us. Give us a picture of what your idea is for how to make this happen. Okay? If you are going to have associate members, how will you recruit them? How are you going to engage them? How are you going to communicate with them? What do you need to make this possible? Pulse is one good way. Yes, absolutely. It could happen there. But you have to tell us. You have to tell us, how are you going to do this? We don't know the internal purpose of what your idea is until you communicate it, right? The next one is there will be a spot to say, are you requesting funding? Do you need the board to find funds to support your cause. That is something, if you give us a full, if you give us a full proposal for forming a committee and you need some money to get together sometime, that might be something we can find a sponsor for. It might be something that we can allocate funds to. Who knows? If it's valuable for everyone and it's going to move the organization forward, these are the ideas we want to hear. So this is your opportunity to do that. If you do need funding, present some strategies for how your committee could raise those funds, or how the board of directors could appropriate funds for you. That's part of it. And then the other question is this a temporary committee? Is it something that has one single task, like we are going to form to fix the operations manual, for instance? And then it's going to expire once the operations manual is done. Let us know that. Or is it going to be a standing committee, something that stays on forever? Maybe like education, right? That's something that fulfills the full goal of the organization, something that should change. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this idea or concerns? Yes?
Obviously this is an open-ended question, but what is perceived as something that is going to be a national level outside of education? I know that. National level issue that's going to come this far?
Who knows?
Can we have like a past example of something that gets this far?
Education committee?
Good segue. So what we found, we started 2 committees besides the bylaws committee, which was a temporary committee. We started 2 other committees this year, and we've seen some success in some, and we've seen some room for improvement in other places. And so this is part of that learning curve, right? We realized you can't just ask for volunteers for a committee and not tell them what they're supposed to do before you recruit them, right? So education committee is great. It's formed. What are the objectives of that committee? I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could tell you that the education committee is working on 1, 2, 3. I know this is what they're working on, and this is why you should join it. That's what this petition is for. So we don't get out there in front of things without a plan. Right? That's why we need fundraising strategies. We need to know that we have support from all over the country before we go out on a national conference call and ask you guys to give your support to this education committee, that we have a plan. Same goes for social media. I think social media has done an incredible job, and we'll talk more about social media tomorrow. But that's one of our current committees, and we'll be having them restructure under this petition format as well. The next, another committee that will hopefully be created by our bylaws being approved is the nomination committee. And the nomination committee will have to be formed by the National Council of Chapters. The first nomination committee is going to have to put some rules in place. So that'll be some interesting work, recruiting the board of directors the next time around. It's kind of a big deal, I think, as we see. Master accreditation has currently been organized as an independent chapter, but we feel like moving forward, it's going to be a committee of dedicated individuals. That's the way it should be. It leaves it open for more people to get involved and to have some input. But these are our 4 current committees. And in fact, the National Charity Foundation started as a committee. It started as the National Charity Committee, and the committee decided that they would like to form their own organization. They'd like to start a 501c3 because it gave them more credibility, more standing, and more things to do. So that's a good example of one that actually came through this process. Bridget Albert presented it to the board of directors of the USBG. It was approved as a committee. The committee came forward, had this plan. They did it. So I think that's a really nice example of what you were asking about. So what I'd like to get an idea from you guys today is, and this is a pretty short talk because I just want to throw this idea out there about forming a committee, about how to do it, and what you do once you're in one, right? This is an opportunity for all of us who are looking for that next level of engagement with the organization, who have ideas about how we could do better, that actually want to step out there and do it. First is identifying the issues, and then next is actually getting out there and doing something about it. And that's where we're at. So some of the ideas that I had, and I was going to see if Nicola could come up and take ideas from the room. Some of the ideas that I've been tossing around and we've been talking about on the board of directors is, having a national program advisory committee. So this is a group of USBG members, chapter presidents, chapter leaders that look at the national programs and give recommendations for how they can be better, whether that's competitions or writing the rules for these things. This can't be one person's job because one person is never going to be able to satisfy the needs and requirements of 2,000 members. We'll just be real honest. So we need good, strong leadership, good, strong consensus forming, and we can't do that at the board of directors level for every initiative that's presented to us. We've got to have some involvement from the leadership level. So National Program Advisory Committee, I think, would be huge. It could really help us move forward. The next one's financial oversight. I know a lot of us have questions about where money is spent, how it's spent, and why it's spent. And there should be a committee that can get those questions and answer them. Because they have they're more closely tied in with the treasurer, with the administration of the USBG National. Pulse platform development. We talked. I think almost everybody in this room should be a member of that committee because we heard a lot of things that we needed on the Pulse platform that we don't have, and how are we going to put those in a list, get a process for fixing them and making sure it happens? How do we do that? It's right here. We make a list, we make a process, and we go forward. USBG.org was another one. USBG.org, marketing, public relations. Why don't we have more of that? We have talent, and we have so much talent in this organization. How do we make it benefit to the rest of the organization? So I'd like to throw out any other ideas that people think would make good committees. Logistics for?
It's like Sheila kind of handles everything with flight organization and everything like that. Having a committee that could be involved with planning on trips and everything. I mean, I got my flight information very last minute, but I understand she was organizing everything for this and turning around and then organizing everything for Bombay Sapphire.
Yeah.
So it seems like there should be a committee that's involved with that, shipping, and
I think if anything, logistics could make a set of guidelines of best practices for that, so that we could then we can go to go to the sponsor of a program or anything like that, and we have guidelines that we need, that kind of stuff. Setting those terms for both the staff and for our sponsors would be huge.
well, no, that's on national level too.
No, I just meant like booking flights.
Oh.
It's been easier for me to just
Book your own flight. Yes.
Me and my buddy's flight 2 months ago, and hotel and stuff like that. It's a lot to take on when you got to put 200 people or 100 people to one.
Yeah, it's also a lot to take on to get receipts and refund that many people as well. I don't know which one's harder, but we should figure that out, and the logistics committee should do it. I agree. What's that?
So 1, 2, 3, got it.
Well, that's not even it. I wish I could say that I would be able to personally handle every single thing that is important that comes out of this room, but I'm just being realistic. No one person can do that. It's just not possible. We have to do it together.
What about recruitment, like a national recruitment committee as far as?
I think that's an incredible idea.
Not just recruitment, but recruitment and retention.
Recruitment and retention. Actually, our next session is going to be all of us brainstorming some ideas about that, and I would love to form a committee around it afterwards.
A bartender exchange type of.
Oh yeah.
We've been working on it for about a year now, and
Yep.
bringing in bartenders to do events with us in Charleston, South Carolina, and then maybe being able to send a bartender from Charleston to Portland or San Francisco to work with some of you awesome people.
Say that for us.
What's that?
I said, don't say that for us. I'll come to Charleston.
Right, so bartender exchange. The bartender exchange program is something that a lot of people have expressed interest in over the years, and nobody's ever said, "Hey, can I form a committee?" So let's do it. Let's figure it out. Let's get a plan. Let's get a process, and figure out a fundraising strategy and run with it. These are the kinds of ideas that we haven't had the infrastructure to do in the past, and that's what we're trying to invest in right here.
Outreach or like liaison committee, instead of kind of reacting to companies approaching us, having a committee that actively seeks out people we want to work with who meet our standards and help them set up a way to reach every chapter.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of a similar focus as what I was thinking with the National Program Advisory Committee, but that's a little wordy, and I like yours a little bit better. Outreach is, sponsorship outreach or partner outreach, that kind of thing is great.
I have two suggestions. One would be a legal, not legal as in our formation, but dealing with laws, dealing with alcohol laws.
Liquor laws, state by state liquor laws.
Just
Compliance.
I in California recently, and then secondly, a competition committee to really firm up. How do you run competitions? We talked about it
Right.
earlier.
Yeah, and if there are some rules that we don't like in the USBG official rules, who gets to deal with that? Competition committee. right? There's a place to go with people who know this, that know everything. You know, it's about sharing information and having members that are dedicated to something they're interested in and making that move forward. It's not gonna work. I don't like rule number 7. You tell David, he's gonna say, okay, I'm sorry you don't like rule number 7, but let's get that somewhere where something can be done about it. Yes. Technology.
How to keep your field up to date on all of your, if it's a CRM or the CMS for your website, or what are best practices?
Technology best practices, that's a big one.
Being able to phone home with our own systems that we have on either WordPress or our own websites to be able to link it into.
Yeah, something bigger, being able to tie that stuff
Would
together.
that fall under the social media that's already, I realize they're not the same thing, but that could be a subcategory.
Could be a
or task
subcommittee, it could be,
under the social media
they
that's
could
already-
form together. Yeah,
It's like a communication
absolutely.
thing.
How about like wellness?
Wellness?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Could we include in that something about a way to give people access to substance abuse programs and things like that?
Under wellness, can you write substance abuse?
Not all,
Yoga.
but I'm saying, yeah.
Helpline?
What about a committee that handles insubordination?
Hang on one second. What was that?
A committee that handles insubordination.
Insubordination. So maybe we would have one that maybe there could be somewhere you could go to get a resolution on a conflict resolution committee.
HR?
HR is different, but yes, we could do HR. The staff of 2 right now.
What about benefits, like gym membership?
But member benefits, yeah. I was thinking as part of retention and recruitment, honestly, creating a member benefit program, discount program nationwide would be pretty cool.
I think that ties in with wellness as well.
And wellness.
Well, if you take a look at general HR benefits and everything, that's all going to fall under that sort of thing. And again, that adds value to membership nationwide with everything. So when you look at different corporate opportunities there.
Are there any other big picture things that you feel could be addressed by getting a dedicated group of chapter leaders and members to focus on for a little while?
Aaron?
Kind of touch what we talked about earlier, maybe do a flare committee so we can do not only just competitions but training for all the members here and all the members throughout that are interested in doing it. Once we have that training set up, then do individual competitions throughout the chapters. Once we have that set up, and send a winner to the WCC qualifier in USA so we can send a qualifier to the next one, I think would be a good committee.
Absolutely. I think Flare is huge. And if Flare takes on, for now, one of their primary objectives is making sure we have an annual Flare competition. That's one. Making sure that we have, that we develop Flare training is 2. Then we've got our principles. We've got our objectives there. Now, let's get together and figure out how we're going to do it. Right?
How about a committee for representation at different events like TAILS, like MCC, and things like that?
Yeah, I think that could.
Yes, it goes under the same thing.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to. Let's get it written down. If it ends up being subclassified, then we'll get there. But I think representation at trade shows, trade events as a USBG contingent, I think that could be really helpful for all of us.
Is there a spot, and I know we're dancing a fine line, between advocacy or whatever, or lobbying really, but maybe legislation that might affect our industry?
Yeah, I think that's one that we can do state by state. I know that it's specifically that's something that's specifically regulated by states, not nationally.
Actually, sorry to be a lobbyist. It's a 501c4 issue, so you have to be really careful with using any of the USBG's funds.
But we could. It doesn't mean that we couldn't.
Other 501c4 people.
Right.
But we just have to be if you want to, anyone want to talk details with me later? Super interested.
Can you say your name and chapter?
I'm Bess. I'm from Philly.
Excellent. That is something, like I said, with the Charity Foundation, that started as a committee. The committee decided the best way forward was to start a foundation, a 501c3. So if this is something that we're serious about and something we want to talk about, make it happen.
Scholarship committee? There's a lot of
Scholarship and granting, it can actually be taken care of within the foundation, but if we want to start the committee here and serve the foundation with a recommendation for how to make it happen, it'll probably happen a lot faster. But yes, we can do grants. The foundation is organized that we could do educational grants for members. We could do scholarships for members. We could do all kinds of things over there. Yeah? So, as you all can see, there's quite a few ideas out there. There's a lot of potential. There's so many things that we could do. But as you can imagine, this is not something that a group of 4 people can do. There's a lot of work to be done, and what we're hoping is that you guys are going to make the connections here this week and start moving some of this stuff forward, because we want to help. I think everybody on the board of directors wants to be able to get this stuff accomplished. The question is how much does it cost, who's going to do the work, and committees are the way that we can drive that stuff forward. Can I answer any other? There's a few other things that I'm sure will come up, but questions? Any other questions? Not necessarily another committee idea, but do you have any other questions? Yes.
That's a lot of committees, and we're all very busy running our chapters. Once we get them, started, is there going to be an effective way that we can reach that out to non-council members?
Yeah. One thing I didn't actually say, and it is not implied here, is that it has to be a chapter president or a chapter leader that's on this committee. All that we're saying is it has to be a representative from a region. We want representation from all over the country if we're going to form a national committee. So that could be anyone. In fact, the committee could be your idea, and you're not even on it. If you recruit the people that are going to move the work forward and help them organize it, that could happen. There are responsibilities. Committees will be dissolved if they don't do what they were set out to do. That kind of stuff will happen. But the only way forward is to try and to get it moving forward.
And initiate those conversations on Pulse.
And those conversations can be initiated on Pulse. So the next thing is, how do committees work, right? So we hear this word. It's actually kind of a scary word in a lot of ways. But how do things move forward? That I don't have an answer to right now, but I will have an answer. Perhaps we'll form a committee for creating committee rules. But we will be offering you guys support, on setting conference calls, on creating agendas and all of that kind of stuff, funneling different people to respond, and we'll work on that. That's the way forward. The first thing we need to do is find out who wants to do this stuff, and then we'll help you get through the process.